Hey guys, Big Chonis. Remember, you guys can find me on Twitter. I am at Big Chonis. These are all my best ideas. I take technical analysis very seriously. I'm a crypto trader, an investor, a mentor, a chart psychologist. Please do your own research. Guys, I am accepting new students for my online mentoring. Guys, have any interest in this, please feel free to DM me, Big Chonis, or send me an email, bigchonis@gmail.com. I am scheduling for the third week of September. Okay, let's talk some Bitcoin. Now, I'm on the 3 day chart here, but before we get to that, I want to get in real tight because Bitcoin futures are about to open on the CME. And last time that happened, we actually had some volatility and we're about a minute away from it. So we're going to see if we get anything going on in the market from a volatility standpoint, because right now we closed our futures at around 5.25, and we're currently about $30 off that right now. So if they open out right now, we'd actually be at a very little gap, and we're just about a minute away from that. Now, I'll go to the futures chart in just a moment, but it's delayed, so we'll actually see a lot more of the action on the live Bitfinex chart as a whole. And listen, we've been kind of seeing these pretty crazy wicks here, right? Today we had this really nasty dump on decently high volume. Decent volume there, but very long wick. A lot of this was bought up, and look at, we came back up here, and then another really nasty wick here again, and got bad up. Not that bad of volume, not big of a volume there, and now we're just kind of sideways action here. So we are open. Yeah, we have opened our CME, and nothing going on here. Nothing big, nothing crazy. No volume, so nothing really crazy there. So let's go back to our actual CME chart. Now this opens in a little bit. Oh, this opens now, but we won't be able to see it on this particular chart because there is a slight delay on it. But when this does open, we'll actually see where it shows it on the chart. But because Bitcoin's price action really isn't that far away from the price, the gap is small, although it is still there. And as I always like to say, all the gaps on the chart definitely do get filled. All right, so we'll keep an eye on this here, but for now, no big volatility going on the price of Bitcoin as the CME futures do open. Now, I wanted to look at, not the 3 hour, I wanted to look at the 3 day chart here. And you can clearly see that our MA200 is once again, we've kind of, found support on it here. We had a nice bounce. We kind of fell off a cliff here, and we're just still hugging it while being sandwiched as a resistance on our EMA 12 that we topped off on our previous 3 day candle here. Now, this current candle here has just started, and actually we got 2 more days left to go. So even though I don't really like this, well, I shouldn't say that, it has been bought up here, so it's not a bad candle yet, but since it's early in the candle, I don't really have a call on it. But the reason I want to bring up the 3 day is just this MA200 keeps sticking out to me, is like, okay, we found support, we had a nice bounce, and we came back and we're testing it again while our EMAs get really close here. Now, what would be amazing is some sort of a bull break, all right, where all of our EMAs cross bullishly. We get all this just momentum flowing through and everything's great, but we're getting tight here on, again, that declining volume. And what is it in this market that tells you that, like, this bottom is in? Because yeah, we found support here and now we found it again, but God, if we break this line, and now this line is over $6,000 for the first time in its history. Let's look at our 3 day. Remember, on the 3 day here, it's a 3 day RSI, just a dead stop right here. We went down really harsh, we kind of went up decently correcting, and now we're just literally sideways here, pretty much waiting for this weekly candle to close, which it actually does close in 2 hours here. Now our Stoke is bullishly crossed here, but we're also mid-channel, very tight in this equilibrium. We're also seeing our OBV, again, very tight as well. Now, we lost some momentum on that pullback. We gained some. Now we gave a little bit back there, but this fallback here, I mean, we've only dropped about $100 in Bitcoin's price, but seeing this move here, we're not really seeing a buy up, a follow up through here. Now, I do like this bottom we currently have here. This is a nice V-looking bottom on our chocolate money flow, something similar to this here, where we actually had a similar V bottom that actually brought us some really nice momentum in through the end of June into July there. So are we putting in something like that? Maybe this could be the beginning of some sort of an inverse H and S. We have our shoulder here, we have our head, and then we can potentially put in some sort of a little dip here, and then potentially rise higher. That pattern could be beginning to play out here because I like the shape of these so far here. But we also see that we're still continuing to coast down lower on our chalk and money flow and finding lower lows and lower highs here. So there's no change in direction here, even though we have this little chop here. We're still losing money flow momentum. Money flow momentum. It's a good key there in the market here. And listen, our 45 has been a very strong area of resistance on our 3-day RSI. And once again, it's holding. Now we'd found support before previously. Once again, resistance. And again, we're getting tighter here, getting very tight in our RSI. So this is going to come to some sort of an apex where we actually pretty much pick a direction here. And the way this is shaping up, again, this is I got this on a weekly here. I'm just going to hide these for now. You can clearly see our equilibrium is getting tighter here on our RSI weekly, lower highs, higher lows. This is our apex. Our apex take us into October, so we could still get this very tight for, several more weeks if we don't find a real significant break. Now, be that it is, I am on the weekly chart here. A couple things of note: our MACD. Remember, we crossed bullish. We crossed bullish, on our MACD, and everybody's like, "Whoa, MACD crossed bullish first time here," and then we literally crossed bearish once again, and now nothing. We have yet to determine the next path here. You can kind of see it here, right there. Right? We're just sideways, a slight angle up and a slight angle down. Okay, so there's nothing here. The next move in Bitcoin will determine, are we going to cross back up again, or are we going to basically revert going back down again? And we're just right there ready to make that decision. Note our histogram here. We flirted with our first week in 2018 of being bullish here. Not our first week. We had a couple weeks in January, right? And actually, it was our first week since February, I guess you could say. Look at that, a little bit of bullishness there. And then we basically just kind of a little bit of bearishness there. So we're very tight. So again, a lot of this looks like it's setting up for, we've tightened up, we've gotten close, we're ready to make a move here. This is what you do. You kind of correct into the different direction there. And then what you're seeing there is just, we're just not getting it yet. But this is going to happen close because we're on our weekly chart here. So let's look at our weekly actual candle here. So remember last week's candle, okay, just brutal major resistance off the EMA 26 here, pulled the price down here. Now this week, okay, not surprising, we basically saw a little correction here. I do not see this as a tweezer bottom really at all. They're not really close enough, in my opinion, and I don't like, if this length of the body was a little more significant, but like this feels more like a tweezer bottom, so I don't really like this here. What this candle suggests, and this is very important because you see this candle here back last week of August. Okay, now we opened this candle 64.85. We closed the previous candle, obviously, 64.85, and right now we're at 64.95. What this means is that we're showing right now that the $6,500 area is actually a very strong resistance. We found it as resistance here. We broke bullishly of it. Okay, we were unable to find it as support, and then once again we're finding it as resistance. So when you find something as resistance once again, you actually I don't see that as very bullish. But again, it depends how we close here. We got 2 more hours in this candle here to see where this weekly close. It'd be great for the bulls to close it above 6,500. Okay, with significance would be even better, but We could probably trickle above it, and it'd be close enough, but still you'd want to see something a little more than just 6,500. If we close under it, then once again for a week we basically show this area is resistance, and it happens in the past here. Even though we break bullish, come back down bearish, but this area 6,500 again is significant. And this week's volume here, right, not that great. Actually our lowest by far since all year. Yeah, this is clearly our lowest, unless we get some crazy volume in the next 2 hours. Something similar to July's candle here. Um, are these similar candles? I don't think so. I mean, very low volume, very low volume. So what happened here? Well, yeah, I guess the selling dried up. Okay, that's for sure. But the buying really didn't come in. You know, we had a massive bear break here, right? And then we're oversold in some indicators, so we're kind of start buying it back. But we're not really seeing that fall through. And see this line right here, this is our overall volume average. And again, we're just continue to fall. And this week does not help matters at all. Quick look at our historical data here. Top of the screen here. Market cap a hair over 200 billion. Remember, we were under it. Okay, found that there. BTC dominance 55.4. Again, more or less in line where we've been the past couple days. Look at our volume, 3.2 billion, low 3 billion. It's getting very low once again, ready for that next big move. So let's bring in my Bollinger Bands. Haven't talked about those yet, and see what's kind of tight here. Okay, so weeklies are getting tighter, right? But still very wide. Let's go to our 3-day here. Okay, 3 days actually been. There we go. Yeah, this is actually very tight. Not very tight, but yes, getting tighter than our weekly here for sure. Remember, we know what tight can be. Tight actually is something like down here, down here. We're still very wide comparably, but definitely tighter from where we have been through the year. Looking at our 2-day here. Even tighter than our 3-day there. Look at that. We're getting very tight once again. And what is our daily Bollingers telling us here? Wide. So we're actually still pretty wide on our daily, okay, which means the sideways action could continue because we really haven't brought in the super tightness there. Now I've been looking at my 4-hour, and I know my 4-hour is very tight now, right? Yeah, we're getting real tight in the 4-hour. Now, not always has this been a good indicator here, okay, but for the tightness we're at now, I mean, maybe here, but really got to go back. Maybe here. This is for the 4-hour. We are really tight on our Bollingers here. More tighter than I think we've been for quite some time. Very tight right here. So there's not a lot of room here. Now we've seen our double wicks here. Again, you break the 4-hour, okay. At least the first time after a while, and it's a buying opportunity. Second time, also as well there. Look at that. Right now, this is our 4-hour. Again, we have 2 more hours in this candle. I don't know. I don't really want to call this a tweezer top yet either. It's a little better than the other one we saw earlier in the show, but still, this is not. And this 4-hour, this shooting star here, has kind of set the stage all the way through here. This is really nasty. We had the sell off. We had a lot of this bought back. Okay, putting that lower high here. And this drifting here is interesting because we get this low volume. We have these dumps, but they're bought up on very low volume. So I don't know, this stop loss chasing here on some of the exchanges. Again, and this has brought all of our RSIs, very, very stable. Nothing's too crazy, nothing's too high. We really haven't completed a lot of cycles yet in our Stoke, still kind of low in the area there. Go back to my daily one more time. So daily's RSI. Oh yeah, so we were fighting at 45. We got as high as 46, and now we're back to 45. So even though we were able to break it, resistance, resistance, resistance. We broke out support. Are we finding support on it? Like barely. Like freaking barely right now. So we're just pins and needles still. But for now, like we're just right there. Like this is that. We just dropped there. What's going on here? A little drop here. So let's see what's going on. Remember, our futures CME opened a little bit ago. Okay, now again, this is our 30-minute. I'm going in tight here. We're seeing these wicks, triple wick here. Current support, MA 200, 30-minute, very low volume still. Okay, we still got about 15 minutes in this candle here. So this is being moved. This market is currently being moved by these quick volume moves here. Quick volume moves, quick volume moves. You know, this candle here had a much more volume in it than this candle here. You know, but it just feels like it's being propped up. It just feels like it's being propped up, held up. Take a look at a couple other things here. Oh, look at, we finally opened our CME. Yes, we have opened. And what do we got here? What do we got here? What do we got here? So we don't have a gap. I think we don't have a gap. Oh, they opened at 5.25. Okay, so they actually opened right where they pretty much closed. Let me go to our hourly. 14 says open. We just because we're still waiting for the 20 minutes, so we're still good at 6 more minutes to go here before we actually see the candle. All right, so we'll keep this going for at least 6 more minutes. All right, so we know what Bitcoin's doing. Let's take a quick look here at Ethereum. Clearly led the way in terms of the bounce, right? These are all my fibs here. You know, we were saying there's still a chance to get over 230, and there definitely is. And we're still putting in higher lows here. You know, we're still putting in lower highs. I can kind of clear the board here for a second, right? You know, our equilibrium is very tighter. We're drifting higher here. We're kind of completing this. Almost feels like it's a ending fifth wave diagonal here. You know, let me get rid of my fibs for just a moment here. Oh, what are we finding support on? We got all the way down here, didn't we? Get rid of that guy. So, yeah, we're doing something like this. Get this just a little higher, and then we can bring this guy just a little lower. And this is what we're kind of doing here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, maybe there's one more tap. We could have one more tap maybe somewhere in this area here. Again, that corresponds with that 233 area, but only if this line holds here. Otherwise, we basically fall through. To a much lower point. Now, notice hourly MA 200 is right, look at that, dead pinned to $200 here. MA 200, 1 hour, $200, just right there, okay? So we found it a little resistance. We actually had a nice back test of it as support. Okay, now it's under us here, so it can act as support. I want to show the daily RSI real quickly here. And see where, once again, when we get down into these depths here, you know, sub 20, okay, these are great buying opportunities for Ethereum. You know, it happened here, and it literally happened here. Now this one here, even though it closed at 20, it was actually down to 18 when it actually bottomed intraday, and it actually had that bounce intraday that has pushed it very nicely higher. But how much higher are we going, and are we putting in, you know, this resistance line here holding with lower highs right now? You know, this resistance, you know, boom, lower, lower, lower. Kind of almost feels like we're doing this descending wedge. Look at that, here to here. And can this line take us literally all the way down here? It very well could. It very well could. If we can't get up here, back to here, something like this. This is setting up for this, okay? Unless we can break out of this and then actually find it as support on some sort of a back test. Frankly, the only way that's going to happen if Bitcoin actually does break through bullishly. Look at Litecoin here, and again, I can keep an eye here on our daily RSI chart. A little different chart here. We actually didn't get as low on our RSI. Actually put in a little bit of higher RSI. This has a lot to do with, I think, Litecoin. We're getting closer to those lower, cheaper numbers. You know, when you're in this area here, there isn't as much as a quick release of any holding, because we're just lower figures here. So it can hold a tight range of a couple bucks. That's why we actually have a better RSI, better looking RSI. You know, but again, this area, we're sub 50 on the daily. Being sub 50 is a bearish area you don't want to be in. Now, chunk of money flow since August has actually been increasing here. Okay, that's notable. Okay, so we're actually seeing a little bullish divergence on the chalk and money flow. And we have a very nice V bottom here currently in our OBV, but you actually see our trend line here that's been set. And we could actually touch that and then find that resistance on it once again. So just that little crawl, but we might actually be losing that continuation momentum if Bitcoin fails to carry through. Let's see here. Okay, so let's go back to Bitcoin real quickly, and then we'll take a look at our CME futures and close up the show. Let me go back to my Phoenix here. Get rid of this. This was from a tweet earlier last week. There we go. And what do I have here? I'm on the daily, so let's go back to our hourly. And yeah, these are still the bull targets that are still in play on my hourly chart. Again, 6600 and even 6667 area are still not out of question for one more little push higher here. Now we have found that major resistance on these wicks here, sub 6600, but right now we're not ready to relinquish below 6350. So we're in this literally $250 very tight range here. Hourly Bollingers are just pegged very sideways here. And let's go to our CME futures and see what we can see, as I believe we're about to open in a minute. And we just did. Okay, there we go. We are open. And we have where are we here? 47. Okay, so we gapped down. We gapped down to 64.70. So we closed up here. So we got a little gap, about $65 right now. Not that bad. We've seen much larger gaps on the opening, based on some volatile weekend price action, but we did gap a little down here, about $60, which means that in the future standpoint, which isn't completely pegged to Bitcoin, but it's definitely kind of hugs it close enough, you would want to see this get to at least 65 25 to close this very little gap here. Nothing really significant there, and we're going to monitor that. And again, it wouldn't take much for Bitcoin to get up there and fill that gap. And then basically, once again, all the gaps will be filled in the market, potentially allowing for a bigger move altogether. So, guys, give a little over an hour and a half left, okay, in the week and in the daily candle. Just pegged very sideways here, okay. Are we going to see some fireworks before the candle close? Is or into the candle close? Okay, currently finding this resistance. Can't get above there, can't get below here. Holding up very tightly in this area here. What's going to happen next? Stay tuned. Remember, you guys can follow me on Twitter. I am at Big Chonis. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, please give me some thumbs up. And until then, next time, I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace out.